Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Mindshare podcast. This show is sponsored by Kits Keep In Touch Systems, a two-time international award-winning marketing suite for sales professionals. REM, a real estate magazine, Canada's premier monthly magazine for real estate professionals, and OREA, the Ontario Real Estate Association, Canada's largest provincial real estate association. You can learn more about all of our sponsors by visiting my site, mindshare101.com. And hey, while you're there, be sure to check out the details of our upcoming Mindshare Mastermind happening in Toronto on September 16th to the 18th. We have a speaker lineup which is absolutely loaded. We're going beyond the industry norm. We're bringing you speakers who are going to blow your mind, literally. These people are the best in their field, and every single one of them have been carefully handpicked by me to ensure they are relevant to you and will help you be even more successful. From marketing to production to mindset to wealth, I can't wait for this event later this year. Now, you've been hearing me talk about it. You may have already reserved your spot for it, or maybe you've been considering it. Spots are limited, so do not wait. Book your ticket. Tell your closest colleague to book theirs too. Our 2024 Mindshare Mastermind is going to be epic. Make sure you check out the details, mindshare101.com. And hey, while you're there, be sure to download your free copy of the Ultimate Marketing Bundle so you can build more mindshare to get more market share. Plus, learn more about our one-to-one coaching and keynote speaking. Today's episode is number 286. He entered the real estate industry in 1989 and has since gained extensive knowledge in residential sales, commercial ventures, and land assembly projects. He has earned various designations and has received recognition for his achievements, including the RE/MAX Hall of Fame designation. He has also been actively involved in the industry, serving on TREB committees and holding positions such as Arbitration Chair, MLS Committee Chair, and 2017-2018 TREB President. His knowledge and expertise have been sought after as an industry speaker and has been continuously featured in numerous media interviews, including newspaper, radio, and TV. He says his goal is to build a top-notch brokerage known for its exceptional service and leadership in the Toronto real estate market. And as part of that commitment, in 2023, his brokerage raised over $43,000 for Sick Kids Hospital. Joining me on this episode of the Mindshare podcast is broker-owner of RE/MAX Ultimate Realty and RE/MAX Condos Plus, Mr. Tim Sirianos. Tim, welcome back to the Mindshare podcast.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be back for episode 286.
Yes,
Look
sir.
at that. Yes.
Sir.
Do I get a jacket? after three?
We've got like a home run jacket, kind of like the Jays.
We do? That's amazing.
Vladdy's holding on to it for you. So, I mean, you knowing you probably know some people who know some people that could get you that jacket.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to start winning games. I don't care about I've never cared about individual stats. I've never cared about individual achievements. This industry is a team sport and we have to realize it. But I don't know if I ever told you the story about how I see the real estate industry, and I got to share it with you because I know you're a baseball fan.
Go for it. I want to hear it.
So I've always said that if there's one thing that a brokerage is aligned with, and that is that of a baseball team. Every single player has a different value set to the team. They all have different strengths. Some people hit home runs, some people hit doubles, some people hit triples. Hey, the bunting is like leases, right? You got to keep on bunting, and you have to manufacture. You have to manufacture people on base and runs, and that's how you manufacture bringing people into the industry. First, they start by getting on base with a single, with a bunt, and that could be very well what that is. And then you have, the pitchers, that bring a different value set, and everybody makes a different amount of money in this industry. You have superstars, you have people coming up through the ranks, and it's an individual game, it's an individual sport, but somehow they all have to come together and win a championship. And that's how I see the real estate industry. And what is the role of a manager as a skipper, a bench boss? They're supposed to go up and say, hey, if you drop that shoulder a little bit, you're going to get on base more often. Hey, if you just, twist your body a certain way, that's what's going to happen. Hey, believe in yourself. I'm giving you the sign to steal. Come on. You got this. You got the speed. You got the knowledge. And the last thing a manager or broker owner needs to do is stand in the way of superstars. And everybody in this industry can be a superstar. They all have the talent. We just have to unlock it for them. Now, how's that for a baseball?
You know, man, like you know how to hit that heartstring right there, right? You know my love for the game of baseball. I love the analogy. Like,
and it's
right
a game within a game. And
right,
it's a game within a game, right? You have to look at every inning, every pitch, every play. We got Tressa thrown at us. That's just another, obstacle to look at. You got policy and government trying to put their fingerprints on everything. That's another obstacle we're looking at. You're looking at, the way the internet is transforming our business, the way you see things going down south of the border on DOJ. Is it going to affect us? Another change. That's another inning to get through, right? So it's a game within a game, and we got to take it one pitch at a time, one at bat at a time.
And that game can be frustrating. There's ups, there's downs, there's good innings, there's bad innings.
Yeah.
You're going to hit your stride. You're going to go into a slump sometimes, right?
Hey,
when you look back.
Yeah, when a baseball player squeezes on that bat a little bit too tight, and they can't hit, they're used to being a 350 or 380 hitter, and now they're a 192 hitter. It sounds pretty much the same way as it does when you're going through a tough market, doesn't it? Hey, I used to be able to sell real estate all the time. What's going on?
Well, I'm curious. Did you play baseball?
I love baseball. I played baseball. Never any good at it, but I love baseball. I think baseball is a great game. It makes people think it's just about hot dogs and ice cream and a seventh inning stretch. It's a lot more than that.
It is. We look at it as a game of chess.
Yeah.
It's a very strategic game. You got to be looking ahead. You got to know what's coming, and you got to be able to navigate through that. And I mean, much the same. I love the analogy and the way you tied that back to this industry that we're in. It's constant. And I mean, look, to everybody tuned in right now, there was some motivation to that as well, right? Is that sometimes you are going to go into a slump. Sometimes you are going to fall into some of these areas. And what can you do? Those little tweaks, just those tiny little things that you can do to polish whatever it is you are doing out there to continue to either get yourself back to where you were or get yourself to that next level. Right. And mechanics.
It is. It's all about mechanics. If there's one thing that frustrates me the most in this business, is, what is the number one ingredient to failure? And I think it's every industry, by the way, but more so in real estate that I've been spending 35 years in this business and I've watched it, is the lack of mechanics, the lack of structure. People have worked in an industry for a big part of their lives, and they want to get into real estate. And now they feel that they wake up whenever they want to, go to work whenever they want to, just wake up and go to an appointment cold, no practicing, no preparation. And they come back to you 6 months later, 8 months later saying, this is a tough business. I'm like, it's tough because there's no structure in your life. It's tough because there's no mechanics. You're not analyzing what you're doing every single day. If you worked for me, and you worked in an admin role, or if you worked at reception, or if you worked in some capacity, and you had, certain parts of your day controlled by me as an employer, I'm pretty sure I'd see deliverables out of you. But the moment that I let you go out free on your own and not be accountable to anybody but yourself and to nobody else, period, what do you expect?
Hey, listen, I thought the word that might have come out of your mouth when you're saying that was complacency, but I think that the word complacency really falls in line to what even you just said. Around, and this look, man, and this will segue really nicely into where we go here. This is something, though, there was a lot of agents that got into the business kind of in that 2020, 2021 range, or maybe just prior, then all of a sudden hit this peak. Like they were just hitting grand slams every single time they went up to bat. And then all of a sudden things changed. And they're a lot of them not even getting singles anymore. And people are looking and say, well, what happened? Well, let me ask you, what did you do to actually take advantage of those situations? What did you actually do in those moments to learn from maybe people that have been around 10, 15, 20 years longer, what they did when they went through some grand slams and sometimes when they didn't get those singles? Did you put any structure into the business? And I think that today, especially as we look at the economy and we look at the landscape out there, we know that the market itself it's slowed. It's not a bad market. There's still people listing their houses. Whether or not sellers are realistic around listing prices is another thing. But we also know buyers were very much holding their breath up until 10:30 this morning. Now to that, wanting to get into this today of how to navigate your business through this latest interest rate announcement. Tim, what do we think is going to happen to house prices now that they have said, hey, we've dropped it by 25 basis points?
Absolutely nothing. So I'm going to be totally blunt with everybody here, and I've always said this in every opportunity I've had, in any interview I've been part of, Dave. And I think I've actually said that I shared this with you too, and I haven't.
Oh, we've had some good candid conversations.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah,
I'll share it with you right now. I think that this announcement is not about affordability in real estate. I think this announcement is about a breath of fresh air, finally having some form of a signal, of any signal whatsoever, that okay, the worst is behind us and there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, the mere fact that we're talking about tough times right now in our industry and the tough times in society from a financial perspective is even more troubling to me, because I was around in 1989 to 1994, 95 when interest rates were 14.5%. And sellers were making offers to buyers. As a matter of fact, when I practiced real estate in that time, we would buy down interest rates as a way of marketing a property for sale. So if there was a home for sale at 14.5%, and assuming mortgages was a necessity at that time, where you don't hear of it, it's unheard of today, the seller would buy down the interest rate to 9.9, and that would be our marketing play in the industry. So we would buy the next 3 or 4 years of that mortgage at 9.9, demonstrating to the buyer that, hey, you're going to get into the market and you're going to be ahead of the curve when it comes to the interest rate environment, and you're going to save money all the way through. But what people didn't realize was that was also a way of maintaining house values. That was a way of not having house values drop anymore. So to tie it back to where we are today, David, I want to share something with you.
Yeah.
I really believe that right now, for those of us who've been around for a long time, this is my 35th year, this is very reminiscent to a 1994 real estate market. And 1994 was the back end. This is when we're starting
to say that's the tail end of that whole thing.
That's exactly where we are right now. We're 1994. And on a previous radio interview I was on, I talked about what part of the market is the hardest hit. The hardest hit is not the freehold market. Myself being the owner of Remax Ultimate and now Remax Condos, I'm able to provide some insight that a lot of people don't see. I have, somebody said you have a convertible and a lake. When it's raining, your lake gets filled up, and when it's sunny, you're driving your convertible, right? So I'm seeing both markets intimately. I have relationships in the pre-con world. I see what's happening. Guess how many pre-construction condos are slated to come to market in 2028?
Couldn't give you a number.
5,000. Only 5,000, based on the interest rate increase, based on the delays on building, based on builders not putting shovels in the ground, contrary to what government is talking about of building 2.4 or 3.9 or 5 point whatever million properties, which is all a bunch of garbage in my mind. The idea of that even coming to any reality is worse than any nightmare you could possibly have, right? So we are going to go through an inventory increase. We're going through an inventory increase right now in condos. Freehold's performing quite well, full stop right there. Yeah. But we're going to talk about condos. You're talking about inventory growing. We're going to grow to as many as 40,000 units coming to market in 2027. And then the drop-off is 5,000 in 2028. And God knows what's going to happen in 2029 because you can't build that fast. So what's going to happen with the inventory, though, is this. As we go from a 0.75% decrease from now until December, and another 0.75% decrease from 2025 January to the end of 2025, all those condominiums and all those pre-cons, the assignment market is going to start to get absorbed. It's no longer going to be the same way that we thought it's going to be. We're going to have people being able to close because of affordability, and we're going to have people re-entering the market, snapping up those properties that are coming to market. So all we're going to see is a continuous market that's going to we're going to get a little bit worse. We're going to start to stabilize as interest rates continue to drop. We're going to have absorption happen, and then unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, come 2028, 2029, and beyond, we're going to start seeing some crazy price increases that we are used to seeing in 2021 and 2022.
This is okay. See, that's a scary thing right there, because what I'm seeing right now is I'm seeing the fact that we had a lot of people holding their breath, pent up optimism around the interest rate going down today. We know it's only 25 basis points. It's not enough to move the needle. And quite frankly, this is the same thing I've been saying to people for some time now.
Yeah.
The most you're going to see is probably about a quarter point, which is what we saw. When you look at your monthly affordability, what's that doing? Nothing. However, what it is going to do is it is going to signal to some buyers, hey, it did come down. And I know you're sitting on the sideline ready for this thing. It's come down. Those people are going to jump in. And in my mind, those people are the same people that jumped in, or the similar mindset that jumped in back in 2021, in 2022, when they saw everybody else buying. So they thought, oh boy, everybody else is doing it, I'm going to go do it. And they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars more than they even had to go get into a property. Now we see Now we see the rates go up, right? We see people who are going to have to come up for renewal. And we know that, again, 2025, 2026, we're seeing 75% of mortgage renewals coming up. Right now, I say my prediction is, with this quarter point drop, we're going to see these people come in. We're going to see prices climb slightly because people are going to be back in there. Then as things are starting to renew, people are going to realize, wait a second, affordability, I can't afford. And they're going to have to get out. And in my mind, that is what we're going to be looking at as that fragile point in the market right there that says, is that when the prices are going to begin to drop? Because people just need to make the move because they cannot afford anymore. So it's interesting that you say by say 28, 29, we're going to see what we saw in 20 and 21, where it goes even crazier. That's a scary thought.
So. Well, listen, I mean, we're down. You can't go from 121,000 sales to 85 to 75 to 65,000 sales. That's not a normal, healthy. That's not a trajectory.
Right, but the 125,000 came when though? They came in 2020, 2021, 22.
Absolutely.
What were they in 2017, 2018, 2019?
Well, there were less population in the city. There was less built in that time.
That's for sure.
Okay, so I mean, you have to look at immigration of what's going on with that too,
and what
the real numbers of immigration are compared to what we were reported in 2018 and 19 and 20. Right. So there is a very big difference. Like, look, a good sales market is around 90,000 sales. For the amount of people that we have right now, 95,000 sales, that is when we're in a marketplace of sales where there's turnover and there's things going on. 65,000 sales, what is telling us is that there's a lot of people on the sidelines. They've been waiting. Forget about the people who haven't come to market yet.
Right.
Hey, and let's talk policy if you don't mind. I really need to get this off my chest.
Yeah. Listen, it's the Mindshare podcast. You say what you got to say.
Why do your listeners believe that there's an increase in capital gains? Like, why? Because they know that the transfer of wealth is going to happen over the next 5 to 10 years. Right. They know that bank of mom and dad is what's going to fuel the next generation of kids being able to get into the market, and they just want a damn piece of it, exactly. and that's what it really is. This is not about fairness. It's not about the 0.1% or 0.3. This is about realizing that the housing market right now is on retract because of interest rates. But once everything stabilizes and everything starts to normalize in an interest rate environment, then we're going to start seeing the same buyers coming into the marketplace, and those buyers are getting money from, and they want a piece, right? And that's what's going on. So I do believe that, once we get to 95,000 sales, 90,000 sales, we're going to start seeing the price increases, not what with the current supply of real estate. We're not going to see the price increases that we should be fearful of. These interest rate cuts won't do that. There's too much supply out there still to come. But I'm worried about 2028, 2029, and beyond.
You see, and again, I'm probably a couple years earlier than you on that. My fear is coming up as, and I've been saying it for a few years now. 25, 26, and everybody's coming up for renewal for the mortgages that they took a few years ago. That's, to me, where we're going to start to see a telltale sign around what is going to happen with this housing market. Now, you mentioned about what they're kind of promising that they want to do for construction. We know that they said something around 2.5 million homes by 2031. They also talk about a labor shortage, and that's part of the reason why we can't. However, we know that, and again, nobody, please don't quote my numbers on this as I say this right now. Just understand that this is in and around what I'm just trying to recall when I read this article. I know I put out a video about it a couple weeks ago, but we had like 400,000 new people enter the labor market. That should have taken us to a certain degree of construction, and we got nowhere close to that. So the fact that they're saying they want to build somewhere around like 415,000 homes a year over the next 7 or 6 years to get to the 2.5, it's not even possible. It's not going to happen. It's a bunch of BS. They're blowing smoke like they continue to do. They're trying to create some sort of, promises that we all know they're not going to deliver on anyways. Quite frankly, those feds won't even be around by that time, I sure hope. And I mean, if they are, I'm out of here. Right? They've caused some major problems out here. Now you look back to what's going on with buyers right now. The buyers, I don't know, maybe you already said this, but how are buyers going to react to the news today? You think that we're going to start to see we're going to start to see a little bit more activity this weekend in open houses? Do you think we're going to see more people starting to get back out there shopping?
Well, I don't believe, what I do believe is it's not going to be the reason why they pull the trigger. It's going to be the reason why their attention will come back to real estate. Yeah, that's what I want to say, right? Okay. And I don't believe we're going to be in a salmon stream of business by a quarter point.
Okay, I was going to ask you that. How's that going to impact the realtor?
I don't believe that's the case. I do believe that there's going to be more phone calls and more inquiries, Listen, David, we've been going through a market right now where a buyer is seeing 50 homes and then looking at their realtor and saying, I want to see 50 more.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's no reason to pull the trigger. But now with the first quarter point, now they're saying, the back end of 2024, we're going to see another half a point cut at some point total. So, I better look at my plans now and talk to my realtor and start planning appropriately of what I might have to do. And to go back to your comment about interest rates, you need to realize that we're at 5%, now we're at 4.75. If it's a 1.5 reduction in next 12 to 18 months, that brings you to a 3.5% interest rate. If you were at 2 or 2.5, you're only renewing at 3.5 now.
Hey, it's not bad, but let me ask you this then, because this was another thing that you sparked my mind on. You talked about 94, and you're comparing to today and saying we're sort of at the tail end of what 94 was. So one question would be, what was affordability like at that time? I mean, now I was around, a younger dude at the time, but 94, what was affordability like? Because I know right now, between the cost of living and everything else going on, people are angry. People are struggling. People are not able to afford like they once were, or maybe even were a few years ago. Yeah. Was it like that in 94? And I guess the simple, probably logical answer would say, sure, at 14% interest rates, it was tough for everybody.
It was not the same in affordability in the sense of, no, it was not the sense. But there is something that's very different in today's era compared to 1994, and that is consumerism is at a whole different level today than what it was back then, right? And, everything that back then we didn't have the immigration stopped completely. There was no immigration in 1994 because immigration is what fueled the market in the 80s up to 1990, 1991. Speculation was rampant. All the rules that have come in place, the banking rules that have come in place since then, have all stopped that. They didn't exist back then. So there are differences. And I've always said to you when we've talked, history does not always repeat itself, but it always rhymes.
Okay, so here's the question then.
Right.
What crystal ball can we have now for where we're going based on the comparison to 94 from what came out in 1994?
We need about 1.5 to 2 years of recovery. That's what I'm going to tell you, because 1994 was when it felt like this, but nobody believed it for 2 years, right? Nobody was there. So it was a trickle and then a momentum shift that happened after when the rates started coming down. There was a momentum shift. And my first mortgage in 2000 when I got married was 6.4. And I called my wife and I said, I don't know if the guy was sleeping or he made a mistake. We got 6.4, you know, like, and now we're talking about 4.75. The biggest difference here, David, is a stress test. The stress test is the biggest difference. And I'm gonna tell you something that I hope your listeners can rally behind and take to whoever they know. Why do we have a one-size-fits-all stress test? Why is a first-time buyer stress tested at the same way that somebody with bad credit is stress tested? Why is somebody who is equity rich, who's owned one home their whole life and it's pretty much paid off, why are they stress tested the same way on their move-up purchase than somebody who is not, have the same equity in their home? Why are we stress testing everybody the same way? I think it's time that the CMHC looks at talking to policymakers. They are policymakers, and talking about instituting a different stress test for everybody. This way, you are stress tested based on your affordability, and that is the right way to actually have this policy moving forward.
But are they not doing that based on affordability with the stress test?
No, it's one size fits all. You could be bankrupt and you're stressed the same way, or you can be
right. You're stressed the same way, but they're looking at your affordability and they're saying, "Can you do this?"
Yeah, but it's the same 2 points, right? It's the same stress test interest rate differential. So if you're able to get into the market and you have absolutely amazing score, like credit score, and you have a strong down payment, there should be a less of a spread on that stress test than there is on somebody who can't. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
There needs to be different. Listen, if you buy a property that is insured, it's done differently for different properties, but it's not done differently when it comes to you applying for a mortgage.
Hey, listen, I see where you're going with that, and it would be fair to look at that because much the same now when we look at a lot of the things that we are giving benefits to people who have not earned those benefits. And so much the same as you say about the stress test, I can see exactly where that lines up. And it's a very valid and a very fair point. And it would be nice to see that. Again, we're looking at affordability here for folks that work hard. They go out and they earn an income. They make a living. They got a good business. They go to work every day, whatever it be, that are struggling to get by. And that's not the way things should be right now. No. Now, again, I think it is important. You have stressed it a few times on this one. They're only 4.75%. And I look, Tim, I wouldn't disagree with that. Right? They're not excruciatingly high. We know that they were really, really low for a little while. They're not in double digits. It's those outside factors right now that are really impacting what's going on with the markets and impacting people's buying power. And this is where I come back to. It's, especially when you're purchasing a home, is look at what the monthly carrying cost looks like as opposed to just the price of the house, right? As opposed to just looking at the bright shiny object around the dollars and cents of the list price. Look at what it looks like on a monthly basis and how close you can or can't be to affordability. And we know most people are in a real tight spot right now when it comes to affordability. Now, in saying that, as a realtor, because a big part of our audience and yours and my audience on a daily basis for the folks that we deal with, this is our sandbox. What are some daily non-negotiables that we need to be doing? How do we suggest and you mentioned about keeping track, daily efforts. I love that. The baseball analogy off the top, right? With the mechanics, right? What should we be doing daily? And how do we keep track of those efforts daily to know that we're actually doing what we're supposed to be doing? Because it's real easy for people to be complacent, ride the high that they had a couple of years ago, and now look around and go, oh my God, I don't know what to do. It's easy for the people that have been in it a long time. They just keep doing. But then for those people that never found their groove, they never found their way, they're very lost at this moment. They don't know what to do. And I'm hearing from coast to coast. Listings are coming, people are inquiring, but nobody's doing anything at the moment. I mean, again, sellers are putting it on the market, but buyers aren't really jumping. So what do we do in our business to make sure we're actually doing what we're supposed to be doing?
Well, I said this in January, and I'll say it again in June. It's only been 6 months, and I've only been saying it every single chance I've gotten. And this is a time, this is an opportunity not to be a realtor. This is an opportunity to be a human being. I've been saying it for 6 months, right? This is the time where you have to have real conversations and asking people what they're going through, what they're doing, how they can help. I'm going to give you 2 points right now that I think are going to be very helpful to you and everybody listening. Number one, I believe that you should be looking at your business plan. And your business plan is not just dollars and cents. It's your mission statement and what your purpose is. It's about where you're spending your dollars and where you're allocating your efforts that are not your highest and best use. I find that many times there are so many savings found in those shiny objects you don't need. Okay, and once you do that, you're able to really reset. What your value is to the marketplace, to the industry, or to your clients. Secondly, I'm going to tell you this about being real and being a human being. We're on social media right now and everybody's watching. I said this in January, and I tell everybody here. I believe that we have to stop being interesting and start being interested in. And I don't understand why we have social media accounts. I'm a broker owner. My job is to have every single one of these people watching on my social media account. I want you watching me because I'm a broker owner. And if you're a professional with integrity and you have goals and like everything about you is doing the right thing, I'd love you to work with me. Straight up, right? I want you on my social media channels. But why do agents have 1,000 followers and 990 of them are realtors commenting on how great they are? I just don't understand this industry with this, right? And when you're marketing yourself, you have to be interested in and not interesting. So that's why social media was created, is to reconnect. It was if somebody's going to post something about, going on a trip, DM them. How are you going to take that relationship from online to offline?
Oh, love those words, man. Love those words.
And like you got to, my success in real estate as a practicing realtor for the first 14 years of my business before becoming a broker owner, because I don't trade anymore. I'm going to tell you that I had non-negotiable every Friday to have a juice, a coffee, a sandwich, a lunch with one of my top people in my database. And there were 14 or 15 people that I would circle back with every 14 or 15 weeks. And the only thing I asked them is, how can I help you? By the end of the conversation, they were asking me about what? Real estate.
Of course.
Right. So, which leads me to my third point. I said 2, there's 3.
Yeah.
And it's like, not 3 strikes here. I'm going for the home run. Right? My third point is be authentically you, right? You need to do what you like to do. You talked about door knocking is not working, or cold calling is not working, or, people are doing videos on social media. It's not working for me. Well, you got to do what works for you, not what works for everybody else, right? So be authentically you. I used to love being in front of my database influencers, my 13 or 14 people, and I enjoyed going to a baseball game with them, sending them tickets to the home show, sending them, a magazine of their favorite, topic, whether it's gardening, traveling. My name would be on it. I would just connect with people, just connect with people. This is not about going broad. It's about going laser beam. Well,
this comes right back to your whole thing of instead of just being interesting, be interested in. I like the positioning of that. This is, again, having conversations with people. Now, back then, you were taking, 14 to 15 people out every 14 to 15 weeks kind of thing, taking the baseball game, doing the lunch, whatnot. And all that stuff is still stuff that people need to be doing today. Much the same when we look at social media, it does give us that advantage. It does give us that extra ammo to be able to connect with a lot more people a lot more often.
Of course.
So in saying that, and for everybody tuned in, my parallel to what Tim just said is very much that of have the conversation with people, reach out and talk to those people, find out more about those people, right? Get involved in what they're talking about, what they're posting about. Don't just make it all about you, right? Don't just worry about getting your post up and walking away. Really hone in on what can I do to have a conversation with people. This is the coffee shop. This is the baseball game. It's just all online now, and you can literally leverage it to talk to somebody in a coffee shop and at the baseball game, technically at the exact same time.
You could.
So there's a beauty to that, and it's ammo that people need to be using now. This trend of social media posting, it has become it's become normal. It's no longer like oh my God, you post on social. Like realistically, I think everybody posts on social today, right?
Yeah, of course.
I guess, and this is something you and I talked about offline prior, but who is our client on social media, or better put, who is it that we feel we are attracting or even posting for when we do post? And is this whole social media thing supposed to be a lead gen thing, a retention thing? What are your thoughts on that?
It depends who you're asking. Are you asking me as a broker owner, or are you asking me as an agent?
How about a person? Just say, well, okay, no. You know what? That's a fair question. I was going to say as a person, but I do think it's important that we do say, who are we? And I would say you are exactly who you are. So you are Tim, the owner of two very successful real estate offices. I'm David, the owner of Mindshare and Kits. We are who we are. But at the same time, too, and you and I, we've sat down and we've had our lunches many times before, and we talk about family and vacations and Blue Jays and anything else. And at that point, it's just Tim and Dave.
But then it always comes back to how's business.
Well, it definitely does at some point, because there's definitely a similarity there. And naturally, if you're going through the conversation with anybody, you can ask things about family. You can ask things about business. You can ask things about what people are up to on a personal level. That's what making conversations about.
The best way I can answer that question for me personally, is that when people have asked me how many homes that I sell a year, I would always say I've never sold one house in my life. And they would say, what do you mean by that? Like you were involved in sales. And I said, I managed 30 to 35 relationships a year. That's what I did. Right. And we don't sell houses. We don't sell cars. We don't sell suits. We don't sell anything. We had a young lady visiting our home from the US, and she just finished, she was visiting our daughter, and they became friends from school, and she wanted to see Toronto. And we were sitting at the kitchen table, and I said, what's your father do for a living? And he said, well, he travels to Mexico and Europe. He does impressions for teeth, and he has all these contracts. And I was smiling because, why are you smiling? And I said, he sounds very successful. He goes, he's a really smart guy. He is. And I said, wow. I go, can I tell you something? Because you're getting into the workforce. He said, sure. He said, what your father does and what I do, anybody can do. How your father makes those people feel, only he can do. And he has those contracts around the world because of the way he makes people feel.
Right.
And everybody has to remember this business is about how people feel. Sellers buy image, buyers buy homes. You walk into a seller's home and you're presenting them the image of who you are and why they're going to be cradled in your arms, and how they're going to have their number one asset be realized in the best light. Buyers, they don't care if you're wearing shorts, man, and flip-flops. They want to see the house. As a matter of fact, they're cheating on you at 3 a.m. in the morning, looking at houses, right? That's a reality. But they'll still come back to you and work with you because of how you make them feel, that you're in their corner, that you're going to give them the best advice, connect them with the right people to make sure that they don't get taken anyway, and they're buying at the right time. So
it's all about customer experience.
It's about customer experience. And going back to social,
yep.
It's great that you're showing where you ate and where you traveled and the fast car that you're driving, but I don't think that that's really adding value. You're not the stick that stirs their drink in your database by doing so. I believe that if you are going to post something like that, talk about some of the other people who are doing it, I think, better, why they ate there, and what they ate and why they recommend to eat that, like that's maybe a little bit better approach than just look at me, what I'm doing, right?
Well, I think the underlying message to that is exactly that. You may post, "Look at me, what I'm doing." Remember, when somebody else posts, "Look at me, what I'm doing," the bigger key here is to engage with them and what they're doing.
Correct.
Make it about them. Get involved in that conversation with them. Ask them more questions. The more you ask, the more you want to know about them, the more you let them talk, the more they're going to share with you, and the more they're going to like talking to you.
Yeah. 2 ears.
And now in comes a relationship.
One mouth. 2 ears.
Right.
One mouth. Everybody says that. Everybody says ask questions and shut up.
You mentioned you brought up like a door knock. You brought up a cold call just in passing as we were talking social there. And I would say right now that I do believe, and it's interesting because we know there was a period of time a few years ago where it was, don't door knock, don't open house. And today, as we talk to people, it seems very much like the open houses and the door knocks are very much where it's at the moment. People are seeing a lot of successes. Again, I think that the online channels become exhausting. It's just there's more and more and more coming at us, and I am certainly part of that. We put a lot of stuff out there, right? But it's a way to connect with people. That being said, though, the in-person, going back to, the real one-to-ones as opposed to the one-to-many seems to be what's really working for folks. Now, I'm getting that sense. I'm curious to see what you're getting from, again, the landscape of your agents. And I know you talk to a ton of people out there. When it comes to marketing, what are you seeing working for people right now in today's landscape to create those new opportunities?
In short, everything works if you're doing it authentically you. That's just my personal opinion. Okay. I've had people door knock my home. They've all been Remax agents, by the way, every single one. So
is that a good thing or a bad thing?
That's a good thing. But I've just sat there and I smiled and I put my hand out and I shake their hand and say, and a couple of them actually said, "Why are you smiling?" I go, "Because I'm Tim Siriano's the broker owner, and I'm proud of you for doing this, right?"
Yes, sir.
And I go, "You're making your market. You're manufacturing, your business, right? Like you're going to go find it. You're not waiting for it. You're going out and getting it."
Don't you love being door knocked at your house when they have no idea they're coming to your house?
I love it, and
I love like my wife, like Jennifer. She will literally roll. She's like, "Uh-oh, here we go." And because she knows I'm going to the door all excited.
Hey, listen, I'm not wearing a jacket and a suit, right? I'm wearing like shorts and I'm like literally in flip flops. People don't know this. I love gardening. So you'll find me like out doing the little gardening things and I get my mind all cleared out and it's really cool. And they just approach me and I'm like, "Hey, great. Another break." And I'm going to talk to somebody. And I spend more time congratulating them on keep on hearing no's, man. Just keep on hearing no's. Man. Keep on hearing no's. Like you're doing it right. And I love it. I door knocked. I sent flyers. I did open houses. I call my database. And I'll be totally frank that I sent flyers. It became like a dopamine drug. It did not give me the return that I expected every year. It was some years good, some years bad. But what it did do was it made my listing presentation a lot easier, right? So if you don't mind me sharing my line with everybody when I sent flyers, do you mind?
Yeah, no, please go for it.
So geographical farming is very big for me. I believe in it. I think it's never died. It never will.
Agreed.
I used to walk into a listing appointment and I say, "David, thank you so much for having me over at your home, this evening. I'm looking forward to giving you all the information for the market of your property. And there's no strings attached, by the way. I just want to do what's right for you. Okay. And I'll help you do that. Is that fair?" And you say yes, right? Say, "Can I ask you a question?"
Sure.
"Why did you call me, in this market?" And your comment would always be, "Well, Tim, we see your sold signs everywhere. We get your flyers and we thought, we give you and two more people a shot." And I'm like, "Fantastic. Can I ask you another question?" "Yeah. So you see my sold signs everywhere?" "Correct." "So would it be fair to say that when somebody an agent sees my for sale sign and my price, that they wouldn't question the price on it?" They say, "Yeah." "So that then would mean that you would net more money, right?" "Yes." "Okay, great. Any other questions?"
Smooth.
Like, no, think about it, right?
No, I got it 100%. Now I will say, as you
Yeah.
brought this sold signs up everywhere, it's interesting. I had this conversation with somebody earlier today, yesterday, I don't remember, talking about the idea of farming, having a billboard, having the flyers, doing the door knock, getting involved with the community, you know, sponsorships and getting community events, whatnot. One thing I have found is we are not, and this, again, this is not going to go for every locale in the country or even in the city, because I don't travel to every single one of them. I will say though, the ones that I do frequent, I don't see consistency through the sold signs like we used to.
No, we don't. You're right.
And I don't just mean the design. I'm talking who the agent is. There are more and more one-offs than there are consistencies of, oh, there is, you know, Tim, or there's David again. We don't see that as much anymore.
That is true in most markets. I've seen that as well. And, you know, many times it's somebody who's gone through an open house or got a referral, for example, and they're moving out of the downtown core and they're moving into the suburb somewhere. And they met that agent in the suburb, you know, or the different market. And the agent that did a great job of, you know, of demonstrating value of why they should be on both ends, you know. So obviously that does happen, but I also put the pressure on the agent who's in the market that did not get that listing. And when I used to see that in my market, I would ask why? Why? And are you asking yourself why somebody else, the one-off from outside the neighborhood, got that and it's not you?
Right.
What is your reputational impact in that market? Do people smell deal and that's it, you know, or do they feel like you're truly authentically involved, right? Like, there's more to it. There's more to it than
100%.
Just, you know, I think we've become a little bit too robotic in our business. I think pre-social media, we were forced to be more engaging as human beings.
Real people.
Yes.
Well, here's one. You know, are online ads the new path to success in real estate?
No.
Thank you. See, because again, and I'm gonna say this, is that to me it's complacency. To me, it's disconnection. And I know I brought this up last week's show, and I know I just did a video about this. And for anybody who heard it, you know, good, you're hearing it again. And for anybody who didn't, it's important that you do. But at Realtor Quest a couple weeks ago, a guy comes up and he comes up to our booth and he asks, he basically makes a comment, I need a VA, virtual assistant. I said, why? He says, well, I get too many leads. Said, you get too many leads. He said, yeah. I said, oh, that sounds like a real problem. He's like, well, you know. I said, okay, and you want the VA for what? He goes, well, I get a lot of leads. I said, so you get the leads and you pay for those leads online? He goes, yeah. I said, so you don't have to do anything. He's like, exactly. And then I said to him, okay, and you want the VA to do what? He says, well, follow up with the leads. I go, oh, so you don't have to do anything. He goes, exactly. I said, and then you want to get paid for it. He goes, exactly. So I asked him, what are you smoking? Because to me,
Can I have some?
But this is what I'm saying, right? Like you talk about robotic.
Yeah.
We've lost our way in this industry. Not the folks that have been around it for a long time who really do understand the depths of what this industry is about. But we're talking about this new wave of agent who's come in, who believes nobody wants to talk on the phone. Nobody wants me to door knock or come to their house and do an open house. People don't want that. They just want a text message, and they just want me to do videos on social media and show off my cool fancy watch and my clothes. And that's not the way this game is played. And I would argue that even the new people coming in, and I'm talking like the younger generations, who are going to have a tougher time getting into the market because of the cost, because of affordability, even those folks there at some point, they're going to want to talk to somebody. They're going to have a real relationship. And this is exactly where it's got to come from. So
I mean, I can't imagine not breaking bread with somebody and treating them like a lead and having somebody else manage it. Like, I'm out. You know, like if somebody treated me that way, I wouldn't be around that person, period.
Well, there it is, right? So here, AI, real hot topic. You know, and look, Tim, we have seen, again, the roller coaster of online leads and chatbots and social media and video and drip campaigns and action plans, everything to disconnect people from each other. Now we got AI, which is not going anywhere. It's going to continue to grow. I do believe AI has been around a lot longer than people think it has when it comes to technology.
It has.
That being said, though, there's a lot of like hot topics now where we've got a lot of AI experts all of a sudden who are, you know, talking about the latest and greatest applications. Yet we also have a lot of people who are not totally tech savvy, who don't completely understand how to implement, and we're probably getting a little bit of anxiousness and anxiety going, wait a second, you're telling me if I don't integrate AI, I'm not going to last in this business. I don't believe that's the case. I believe this whole AI thing is really overcomplicating things for people. I believe it's disconnecting people. Again, I'm not suggesting not to use it. There's some great applications for it. I guess I ask, though, and I should ask the question here, what is your take on the implementation here in our real estate industry?
So we've implemented AI in our brokerage for one simple reason, and one simple reason only, to, instead of having 3 people proofread something, AI does it for us, right? AI has created roadmaps for us from point A to point Z of how to implement a certain training class. AI has assisted us in creating and reviewing market reports and getting certain stats for us that we review anyway above and beyond that. AI has been created in our office where you can ask, our hub a question and it will send you the link to where to find it. Right. So we've used AI to allow our team, our human beings, to have more of a concierge experience with the realtor within our organization. We've used AI to do the menial stuff that saves us time and frankly has saved us money as well, because we've been able to have things reviewed and done in-house without going outside. I don't see AI replacing the realtor by any means whatsoever. No. Listen, AI's been around a lot longer in the sense that every single time anyone's gone shopping and they've picked the shirt, AI has already shared with you 4 other outfits to consider because of that one that you picked. And that was not this year. That was 5 years ago, right? Zillow had AI 8 years ago when you would put a map of where you want to buy a house. And based on your searching and searching and searching, and then it started tracking your driving patterns. It would tell you, well, I know you want to buy in this neighborhood, but that dream house is right here, just outside it. And it would send it to you, right? So all of these things have already existed, and you could harness this power for the experience to be even better. But I don't see it as a replacement or something that we need to spend too much energy on worrying about. I'm more worried about the privacy issues. I'm more worried about, people's faces showing up on different people's bodies and being accused of something that you had no.
There's definitely some scary stuff coming that way. 100%.
Yeah, that stuff, identity theft and everything else. That's where technology as a whole worries me as a human being, and for my children. Right? I have, 3 kids, and they mean the world to me, and I want to make sure that they grow up in a safe environment. And when I'm interviewed in the radio or anywhere else, I always say, hey, don't look at me as a greedy realtor. I got 3 kids and I hope they can buy one day. Of course. I'm in it for the same reasons you are. But with technology, same thing. Whatever's being created, I hope that it's being created in a way to protect the future generations as well.
I love the way that was spun there, and I would sort of back that up and say, to what you said, like AI is not going to replace us. This is a real important piece here. Again, everybody tuned in, really, really understand that part, right? We have seen retail, we have seen, again, the movie industry, we've seen so many of these different industries kind of go the way of just sort of gone. Simply put, for the fact that they allowed technology to get in between. They allowed, that idea to be ingrained in people's minds of the way people are doing things and changing people's habits. In this case here, although there's a very big group of people out there that do believe that they could do real estate on their own, they don't need a realtor. Realtors get paid too much. In my mind, not at all. In fact, you risk putting yourself in trouble for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And if you get the right realtor, good things are going to happen. And this is where, again, everybody tuned in. It's really, really important that you leverage the day-to-day to communicate, to educate, right? Tim, you're saying it before about, don't be interesting, but be interested. Get out there and talk to people, right? Yeah. Be interested in, right? Like in them. Talk to them, communicate with them, find out what their thoughts are. I mean, even right now, take today's latest announcement. Get out there, call people. Hey, did you see it? I did, but I'm not looking to sell anything. No, I'm not calling you to sell your house. Just want to know if you had any questions about it. Do you understand it? Do you have any challenges, any opinions? Just make conversation with people about it. Show people you understand. Show people you care.
Yeah.
The more you do that, you position yourself for more opportunity.
Yeah.
Now, much the same. Yeah, go for it. Sorry.
I want to ask something to give people perspective here. I love trying to give different kind of ideas.
Yeah.
When's the last time you visited somebody's home, and you're on your way home, and you're sitting with your wife, and you say, "Man, I really enjoyed tonight. Like, Tim and Mary are such great people. Like, wow. Like, we got to see them again. We got to have them over." Now, full stop. Time out.
Yep.
Here's a brain screw for you. You know why you feel that way? Because Tim and Mary asked you a bunch of questions, got you talking about yourself.
That's right.
And then you're going home thinking that you were the best conversationalist in the world. But all you did was talk about yourself.
It's true, though.
And that's what we got to think about every time. When somebody, Tom Ferry said it best. How's the real estate? Well, let me start. And you don't stop, right? And Tom Ferry said, I'm sure it was Tom Ferry. He said, well, it depends. Are you interested in learning more about buying, selling, renting, or investing? Like, the whole idea is to
open-ended questions, dig deeper.
Back and forth, back and forth.
Find out what they want.
Yeah.
So here,
absolutely.
As we look at those opportunities for conversations, okay, we talked about online with social ads. We talked about DAI. We talked about open houses, farming, door knocking, cold calling. We've really, the flyers, we've run the gamut of that stuff. Again, in today's landscape right now, if we had to make a suggestion to people when it comes to prospecting, what should we be doing right now based on the knowledge we've got about what happened with interest rates, based on just where we are economically, where we are at the time of the year? What do you suggest people are doing right now to go and find new opportunities and do it consistently?
So first and foremost, I would need to answer that question the same way I did before, but with, more clarity, I guess, is the sense that if you really, number one, you should be talking to the people that you have in your database. That's first and foremost, right? You got to be a real person. You got to circle back and educate them and ask them if they have any questions. Ask them, does this interest rate announcement affect you positively in any way? Is there anything that I can guide you or introduce you or answer any questions of what this means, right? Start the conversation there. But when it comes to opportunities that exist right now, the same ones existed in 1960 that exist in 2024. And that is, you got to put yourself between two people who are thinking about buying and selling.
1960, Tim, I wasn't around back then.
I wasn't either.
That's just messing with you.
but the opportunities that lie to understand your business, because I know we're probably running out of time, is we are so involved in our business only. And sometimes the wisest thing one can do is see what other industries are doing. And I am very surprised that nobody takes a step back from your business and says, I've always done it. What's the hospitality business industry doing? What's the trucking industry doing? How are they communicating with their members? How are they communicating with how are they getting business? Who are they advertising to? How are they defining their clientele? What are their catch lines? What are their mission statements? Because Amazon transformed the way we do business.
Yeah.
And yet we don't look at what they're doing, right? Why am I saying this to you, David? Is because this reason. I don't want Uber in real estate. And I don't want, Airbnb in my business. And I don't want, this and this and that. But you yourself are using Uber every single day. And you're using Amazon every single day. You get where I'm going with this right now? So you have to see what paths are these other industries, even in technology, doing and taking, and how can I use or harness those ideas in the real estate business so I'm not like every other realtor, so I can be different.
There's an interesting one. I think that part of that answer circles back to what we spoke about a few minutes ago there around customer experience.
Yes.
Amazon has made it so I don't have to get off my couch and I can purchase anything I want. And I mean, it used to be that it might show up like moments later, but they're still pretty darn good. It'll be here tomorrow.
Yeah.
and I didn't have to move. That was really, really easy to shop. I think that you're bang on there. I think that we do need to look externally to find out what's working, what's trending, what is happening, and how can we maybe integrate. And it actually leads me to this question here. Around the culture of real estate, and I'd say here in Ontario, here in Canada, just in our sandbox, but it has drastically changed. I mean, we've seen some major changes in the way people do business, the way people interact with one another. What do you foresee this industry looking like over the next, say, 5 to 10 years? Is it going to be very much the same? Do you have any predictions? What should we all be watching out for? Thoughts?
So I was given a card back in 2006 from my wife when I became a broker owner. It said, "Don't be afraid of change, be afraid of not changing." And the one thing I can guarantee is that there's going to be constant and consistent change. The way we see TRESA today is just the first toes in the pool. We haven't really gone through the amount of change that's going to happen. I do believe that the agency relationship will be completely split. I do believe at some point we'll have a full listing side and buyer side, much more defined than what it is right now. I do believe that things are going to open up for more different types of models to exist. And I think that's a great thing. And I do believe that we're going to have to also accept that our models will change, right? And that's in every way, in the way you provide your services. So I do believe there'll be constant change, and change will be the leading spear in our business, going forward. I do also have to acknowledge that we're all very tired of how fast these changes have happened over the past 2 years.
Yeah, that's a great point.
We do need a break from it. I beg the industry leaders of organized real estate to acknowledge and realize that we get that you need to do these things, but they need to be more staggered. They need to work before you implement. You can't just do. And I also believe that there needs to be a lot more. What's the word I want to use? A lot more education around it in a consistent way. Communication is what I meant. More transparency is needed. Not that they intend to do anything wrong or that there is anything being done wrong. I want to make that very clear. Mm-hmm. You just, how do you kill weeds off your lawn? And it's not by spraying Kill-X. It's by overseeding, right? And overseeding to me is over communicating, right? So communication is very important. And, to have that roadmap put out there consistently to everybody so they know where we're going.
Listen, I think great points, absolutely, and I agree with you. And I would say that I think, as we move forward, 2 things I want to see as a big change that I am just pleading for. One is at the top level. We just need a change in our federal government. I think everybody, as you say, everybody's exhausted. It's been happening too fast. There's too much going on. We need a change. Yep. The other thing is I get right down to a sort of a more micro level in our industry. I believe that the process in which, we're, doing the education and doing the licensing, I believe that there needs to be a drastic change there. I think that it's way too easy to get in. I think that we're way too accepting of just anybody kind of getting in. And from a time perspective and a dollars perspective, it's not like a lot of the professions out there where it's going to take you 3 or 4 years and lots of money and studying. You can do this in a year, for a minimal amount of money to get in. And I do believe that, again, when it comes back to the way people carry themselves, when it comes back to the interactions amongst people within the industry as well as people outside the industry, to the way the outside looks at the industry, I believe that all, carries a lot of weight to it. And that is part of the impact that we're having. So, look, I think when we take all this today and we wrap this together and say, we opened up in sort of a title today of how to navigate your business through this latest rate announcement. A lot of the things that you shared today, Tim, and I thank you, are very in line with a lot of things that we would have shared even before the rate announcement, that we would have
100%.
shared 5 or 6 years ago prior to, the pandemic time, that we'll probably be talking about over the next number of years, is that it really does come down to, it always has been and always will be a people business. And the more you interact with others, the more you actually have real conversations, the more you take an interest in them and allow them to talk, and the more you are authentic about who you are, the more opportunity you're going to create for yourself. But you can't be complacent. You got to be willing to get out there and do it.
I agree.
So as we talk about that, as we sort of close off today, and I know you've been on the show in the past, but I would tell you that I imagine maybe the answer to this has changed. I would say to you, I don't recall what you would have answered, but it is a question that we love to ask. As the day wraps up, and knowing you outside of real estate, I almost understand what your answer is already. But for all of our listeners, as your day wraps up, how do you, Mr. Sirianos, know it's been a successful day for you?
When I've made an impact on somebody's life, it's career comes from making an impact on one's life. I wake up every day to give the best of me. I don't wake up every day with how much money is going to come in or go out. I don't wake up with what agent's leaving me or joining me. Mm-hmm. I that's a journey I can't control. I wake up every day to give the best of me. Look, I've told you, David, during lunch more than once, I'm the only Sirianos in Toronto that's in real estate. Yeah. There's no hiding, right? So I was given that descriptive, reminder from my father when I was newly licensed and entering the work environment. And, I hold that dear, right? So for me, my perfect day is when I have made an impact. And then I go home, and by that positive impact, I continue it with my number one, and that is my family, right? Like everything that I do is for them, right? So, and they're not here, but I thank them every day for allowing me to do this, right? Because they support me a lot, and it means a lot to me. I had
a feeling you were going down that road.
Yeah. Well, you know me well.
You know why? And I know you're a family guy first at all times, and I know you're all about helping people. I think that it's a real important trait, and obviously has led to your success and all the success that you've had and continue to have and will continue to have. And I hope that everybody here today really takes a page out of that book. So in saying that, any final words of wisdom you want to share with anybody out there before we wrap up today?
The only words that need to just one more step past the last conversation we just had right now would be, don't chase it. If you chase it, it's going to keep on running away, right? If you want, I'm going to say this in closing. If you want money, give money. If you want courage, encourage. If you want love, give love. I'm telling you, like, the more you help, the more you just wake up and just be, the more, and it may not come to you, but it will come to your kids. It might come to your spouse. It might come to somebody else, right? But everything we do has a ripple effect. And stop chasing it. Stop squeezing that bat too tight. Take a breath, and just swing, man. Just do it for the love of the game. How's that? Just do it for the love of the game.
I love how you took this whole thing full circle to baseball today. Well done, right? Well done.
Just do it for the love of the game and build it, and they will come.
Tim Sirianos, everybody. My friend, thank you very, very much once again for joining us on the Mindshare podcast today.
My pleasure.
You're awesome. Thank you, pal. You are either watching this on one of your favorite podcast platforms. Maybe you went to my website, mindshare101.com. While you are there, be sure to check out the details for our upcoming Mindshare Mastermind, as well as download your free copy of the Ultimate Marketing Bundle so you can build more mindshare to get more market share. For all inquiries, just get in touch with us today. Of course, as always, please, just a little reminder, when you get a moment, to all of you that are leaving reviews, I am so super grateful. We do make it super easy. All you have to do is go over, rate this podcast www.ratethispodcast.com/mindshare101. That's whether you're on an Apple or you're on Android. Again, www.ratethispodcast.com/mindshare101. I would be super grateful. Of course, connect with me on Facebook and TikTok at mindshare101 and on Instagram at David Greenspan 101. Just before we sign off, I want to thank Kits Keep in Touch Systems, REM Real Estate Magazine, and OREA, the Ontario Real Estate Association, for sponsoring this episode of the Mindshare Podcast. This has been another episode of the Mindshare Podcast. Thank you for tuning in.